Hey guys, it's Saturn, and today I'm going to talk to you about some ways to write a script for a movie, TV show, or a YouTube video. Since I want to talk about the shows I'm making and the characters in them in a later video, I thought it'd be nice to tell you all about how to write scripts yourself. I know there is basic formats to write scripts for movies and stuff in the official manner, but these guidelines will help you out and hopefully give you some experience. And one more thing before we start, you won't see any more Beyblade videos on this channel. My main goal for New Mission Studios is to be a portal where I can upload my shows, along with helping you guys about story development, character development, and other useful info to help you guys start up your own shows. So any further Beyblade content I will make will go up on my second channel, NMS Bays. I don't have anything up yet, but be sure to check in to see if I do. So let's get to it. And I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to be using my way of writing scripts, but if you think of anything I do here that isn't your style, that's perfectly fine. You can change any aspect of what I'm doing to make it more you. I'm also doing this in Google Docs, but hopefully anything that I do here can be translated into Microsoft Word, but I'm not familiar with that software. But first off, we need a title. The font for the title can be any font you like, but usually I choose a font that isn't the font I use for the script itself, which is Volaterre. And I usually try to make the font of the title around the same vibe for what I'm doing. So let's say this show is a chill slice of life, so I'd recommend more casual fonts that don't look too out of hand and less sophisticated, like Conforta, Cairo, Monster, I don't know how to pronounce that, Montserrat, Oswald, Quicksand, or Roboto Mono. For the title itself, let's call it Good Life, and this is basic knowledge for writers in general. Capitalize the first letter of each word in the title, except for filler words like of and to and the, but capitalize them if they are the first word in the title. Then I center a line, bold text if it looks too thin to stand out, and make it big. The size of the title depends on the size of the font, so I eyeball the size, but make it big enough so that you can tell it's the title of the show. Next, unbold if you bolded already, make the font one size shorter, and write the episode. Usually I start with a pilot episode or episode 0 as a little taste for the series, but there's nothing wrong with starting with an episode 1. So let's say this episode is episode 1. You can use anything to divide the episode number and episode title, but punctuation like commas and colons are always a good divider. And let's call this episode Good Grief. Other ways to make episode titles more interesting is using words besides episode. For Dark Depths, I use Codex for episodes centered around Asuka, and Tome episodes for episodes centered around Yoji. Another unique way to name episodes are recurring words. I haven't done this yet, but an example of this is Netflix's Wednesday, where every episode has the word whoa in it. If you're writing a movie, I'd suggest writing the version in place of the episode title. So if this would be a movie instead of a show, I could write concept, unrevised, version A revised, anything like that, or you can skip this altogether. Then, after you have the title and episode title established, you can get to the meat of the script, the body. How I do this transition is enter, font size 13, enter again, write a line, and change the font to Voltaire. While Voltaire is good, I suggest writing the body with any font that's simple, easy to read, and not too chaotic. So, Laura, Merryweather, and Conforta, good. Frihole and Metal Mania, bad. Coral Pixel, Cinzel Decorative, and Comic Sans, neutral. Also try not to write with a font that has few to no differences between the capital and lowercase letters. Now for the writing, which seems daunting but is very easy if you simplify the text into instances, which are character dialogue, dialogue modification, action during dialogue, camera movement and transitions, improvised time, on-screen text and themes, and commercials. A simpler way of doing this is dialogue, not dialogue, and modifications. If you fill these instances out, you'll be golden. So, for dialogue, I usually bold, parentheses, name, parentheses, unbold, and colon, then write out what this character is saying. If I want to write dialogue where 2 or more people are saying the same thing at the same time, then I do the same thing, but write both names separated with a comma. Then write the dialogue. For dialogue that is modified, for instances where the character's voice would be muffled, glitching through a phone, or if the character is eating, I add brackets between the name and second parentheses. and write how the voice is changed. For any actions the character does that isn't speech, or the camera moves, or the scene changes, I enter italics parentheses, write how the action plays out, parentheses, then I write more dialogue. Dialogue and actions are your bread and butter. You can make a story just by using these instances alone, but make sure you use them right. If a character in your story says, "You're making me angry!" exclamation point. Ask yourself what actions this character might do to calm down, or how the character's anger will affect others. So a good action to follow this line might be, they slam a clenched fist into the wall. Now for the more advanced instances! If your character is performing an action while they are saying something, like eating a burger, I usually use asterisk action asterisk. After you've done that, you can put the action anywhere in the dialogue. And if we're still using the burger example, you can use it as an action before the dialogue or as a comma or semicolon. If the character performs the action after they speak, I'd suggest just using the regular action format. Now, say an event is happening during an action, but you don't want to write any other lines of dialogue or actions, or you think they won't be needed or necessary for the event. Then you use something I call improvised timing, which is an allotted period of time where the character's dialogue and actions are improvised until the next written line of dialogue or action. When this happens, I usually put it at the end of an action, but before the second parentheses, bold brackets with a time for how long this takes place between the brackets. Also bold if that wasn't already implied. Now, anything that the characters do is improvised for, let's say, 30 seconds. Also use this format for commercial breaks and theme song/title cards, but caps lock the text. Finally, if you think your audience will have a hard time understanding what a character just said, the character has minor info that isn't crucial to the story but the audience still doesn't know what it is, or the character's dialogue is a foreign language, then you need on-screen text, and write it after the text that needs clarity like an action, but add some indication before the text to indicate that this isn't an action. You can use anything for the indication, but I use note in all caps. And that's pretty much it for all I have you today. I know it wasn't a lot, but I told you a lot of useful stuff today, and hopefully it'll get you to write at least a few pages of script. If you still have no idea where to start, I'll release a video very soon about plot development and character growth. If there's any other tips I can give you right now, it is think that you're writing code and not a script. So A does B, C happens. If C happens, D does E. Anyway, I have to do other stuff today. I'll see you later. Good writing.